Today, I'm going to be working on my weekly actions for the week of December 19th through the 25th. For 2023, I am going to be using the MakseLife Companion Notebook system. And if you want to see how I'm going to incorporate that into my other planners for the year, I recommend you check out my planner stack video. I'll link it up here in a card and in the description. And today I am going to set up my weekly actions and also reflect back on last week. As I'm filming this, it is the 16th, so the week is technically not completely finished. However, I want to go ahead and get back into my habit of planning for the next week on Fridays, because I found that if I don't do that over the weekend, I tend to feel a little bit more stressed out because I still have all the things up in my head about what's going on. And so I thought I'd sit down for a few minutes before I left to go pick the kids up from school to work on my weekly actions. I actually filled this one out in a Plan With Me video where I did my hourly plan, and I'll go ahead and link that up in a card above too if you're interested in checking that out. But what I did last week for my weekly actions was I decided to give myself a little pep talk. So I attended the MakseLife goal setting series, and these are some of my notes. And one of the things I wrote down when she was talking about weekly actions was to give yourself a pep talk instead if you don't want to work on goals in each of these areas. And I thought that was genius, because sometimes I think that's all I need, as opposed to sitting down and really trying to figure out what I want to happen in each area. So what I did last week instead was I did a little pep talk. The reason there's a piece of washi on here is because I had taped it to my snap and bookmark and stuck it inside my hourly planner with the week that it belonged with, so that I kind of kept it together. I thought that would be a cool way to do that, since the reason these are ripped out is because if you get the companion notebook system, it's undated. And so there's 5 weeks in each month. And when I set that planner up, and I can link that video up in a card if you're interested in seeing me set that up. But when I set that up, I had 2 extra weeks over the first quarter. And so that meant I could start the system sooner. So this was for the week that we're in currently still. And then this is going to be for the 19th through the 25th. 19th through the 25th, which would officially kind of be the last week, really, since in the companion notebooks, I can start using this on the 26th, I believe. I have it dated. Let me see. Yep, the 26th, because January 1st is on a Sunday, and the way I'm doing my weeks are from Monday to Sunday. I think I'm not going to do a pep talk this week, but I am going to kind of figure out what my focus is going to be, and then just list out, kind of brain dump things that need to happen. We are going to be visiting family for Christmas, and so these weekly actions are things that actually need to happen before we leave, and I don't really have a full 7 days to get all these actions done. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about doing this, is just kind of focusing on what needs to happen while I'm still home before I leave, and not put on here the things that are when I'm not here, if that makes any sense. So what I'll do is I'll speed through this part because I need to think for a few minutes and I can't talk and think at the same time. But I'll speed through and then come back, because I think I also want to start working on my reflections for this current week. Even though the week's not completely over, I do want to start writing down what I can remember for right now, as far as what I want to reflect on up until this point, so that I'm not having to think too hard come Monday when I go back and finish this. Okay, I think that's what I'm going to leave it at for right now. I know there's probably a couple more things I will add to here. Just depends on like what I get finished this week. If there's something that needs to carry over, I'll move it. I'll add it onto here if I don't finish it this week. But this is like a really good start for me. I haven't done my week yet. I don't know if I'm going to plan my week in my plum paper or if I'm just going to use a notepad for this week. We'll just see how I feel, but I'm not going to do that right now. I will though look at, let me flip this over, and I'll go ahead and start listing out some wins from this week. Like the big win would really be that I sent an issue of Lauren's list. And if you don't know what that is, I'll leave some information in the description for you to check out. But I wasn't sure if that was going to go out or not. I didn't get out the one on the 1st, so I really wanted to make sure that one got out. And I'm gonna say time blocking worked this week. Sticky. I used the 2023 planner that is supposed to start on January 26th, and that week is a week that I'm not even going to be using it. So I decided to use it as like a test run, and I'm planning on using the hourly as like a time blocking, so that like in the beginning, well, before the week starts, I can map out like when I'm going to do what, and then my plan is to like write out the weekly actions first and then map out my week so I can figure out when the things are going to happen, and then use my daily planner every day so that I don't have to look at my week. That's the point. I don't like looking at like all of my to-dos and everything like all for the entire week. There's no point, and like it makes me a little bit stressed out to look at that all the time. So that worked this week using the time blocking. Another thing I would say worked, at least for this week, I don't know how I'll feel about it in future weeks if I have to continue doing it, but moving the stickers in my weekly, because like the beginning of this week was not very well as far as like me not feeling too good, and my husband was home, and so that made things weird, that and just threw everything off. He wasn't feeling good either, and it's just a weird week. I don't know, this whole like last 4 weeks has been really weird, and so I'm like really looking forward to this little vacation that I'm getting for the holiday, being away from home. Since I'm home like all the time, I don't work outside the home, I stay home, and getting out of here and just kind of resetting is like, I absolutely need this. So hopefully January works out better. Let's see. Let me look at, I'm going to reference, this is I don't know what they call this. Oh, the instructions. It's just the companion notebook instruction book. But I'm going to reference this page that discusses the weekly actions and how to do them, to kind of like look at these reflection questions some more, because even though it says like wins, worked, didn't worked, it's deeper here, and it's been a minute since I've done these reflections, so that's partly why I wanted to like start doing it a little bit before the quarter actually started, so that I can kind of rework my muscles. Didn't work, failures, setbacks, disappointments. See, I'm not sure right now what didn't work. I would say another thing that worked was like having the kids ride the bus in the morning, because I've been waking up not feeling well. I like to take them, but I mean, I did what I had to do, and I think that helped, and sleeping in a little bit helped too, since I haven't been feeling too good. I don't know if there's any adjustments that I'm aware of right now that I need to make. Wins, other wins. Oh, I like filmed a video. I'm gonna call that a win, because like I said, well, I filmed 2 videos if you count this one. I filmed a vertical EC review, and I filmed this one, weekly actions. So yeah, I didn't know if I would film. I was coughing so much last week. It was actually amazing that I filmed last week. Now, off the top of my head, I can't think of any wins. Let me look at my planner. I'm gonna put this down as a win, but because this is like, I guess this falls under like recreation type thing. We caught up, my husband and I caught up on La Brea. Okay, so the show, we used to watch it on Hulu, and then when I knew the show was coming back on air, like it never put back on Hulu, and I was like, what the heck is going on? And then over Thanksgiving, well, because of Black Friday sales, Peacock was offering like for a whole year, you get it for 99 cents a month. And we were like, yeah. So we signed up, and that unlocked it to where like now we can watch La Brea on the Peacock app. That's kind of like what they did, is like they took it away from Hulu. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that there's shows that they were watching. The only other show we noticed that did that too was Saturday Night Live. So Saturday Night Live is not on Hulu anymore, at least like not this version that we have. We have the Hulu version that's free with our Verizon plan. And I think if we probably upgraded to live, we might have access, but I'm not going to do that. I don't know how many other people are annoyed that, you know, a show was at one point available on a certain plan and then all of a sudden they took it away. And all these networks are doing their own little apps and making you pay for those, and it's just, anyway. We caught up on La Brea this week because he didn't work. He was in transition to a new project, which made things stressful financially. But I mean, it might have worked out good for him because, again, he wasn't feeling too well either. We've all just kind of been having the yuckies, and it's almost like this lingering cold that's just not going away. I don't know if anybody else is having this happen. I know that stuff's going around because when my daughter needed her antibiotics for her ear infection last week, the pharmacy didn't have any more antibiotics. And I was just like, that's serious. The pharmacist said that with so many people having the flu and sinus infections, they didn't have a lot of antibiotics. They, were out, which made me think, you shouldn't be giving antibiotics to people who have the flu. But what do I know? I don't know. That's not really the proper... I'm not a doctor. I'm pretty sure that's not how it goes. Let's see. So yeah, I'm going to call it a win because we have not been using it. But now, like, we are at the point where it's the mid-season finale. Mid-season finale. And it just left us hanging. And I'm just like a little annoyed because I don't know. It looks like one of the actors that are in it might not be in it anymore for the rest of the season. And I'm a little bummed out about that. I'm not going to spoil it here. If anybody else is watching, you know who I'm talking about. Lessons. I think I'm going to save that for Monday so that I can let the week finish fleshing itself out, because there are some other things I'm not sure yet off the top of my head. And this is why I like having my planners. My planners help me with my reflection. So sometimes I will write things down in my planner, even though it's like after the fact, because when I go to reflect, it helps me to reference my planner, to go back to it and see, because my memory is probably not something I should be saying, because then it's affirming it and making it worse, I guess. But I try not to say it too much, but my memory is not the best. So writing things down is super important for me, especially when it comes to reflections. I'm gonna say another thing that worked, I kind of mentioned it, but I didn't write it down. Another thing that worked was sleeping in and taking naps. I think that helped this week. And even though it made me feel lazy, that I'm I want to go back to sleep, I don't think it made my productivity suffer too much. If anything, I feel if I didn't take a nap, or if I didn't go back to sleep after the kids got on the bus, I was gonna just it would have just made things worse. I let that be. I just kind of like went with the flow this week. Normally it would have bothered me that I like mapped out my week and I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. And I think I already mentioned this, but if I didn't, like, the plan with me that I'm referring to is for the week of the 12th to the 18th. So if you go back to that video and watch that plan with me, you'll know what I'm talking about, how I mapped it. And then I ended up moving the stickers, and initially I'm like, I don't know if I want to should I move them? Should I cross it out? But moving it was because like I needed to move it because I referenced the week when I go to my day. And so if something didn't happen on that day, I didn't want to have to keep like looking back on all the other days. So that's why I said like moving the stickers worked and time blocking worked, because mapping it all out, especially that week, like this week, it really felt like I had so many things I needed to do content wise with filming and like editing stuff, because I've been trying to do things ahead of time since I'm going out of town, and I want to make sure I still have stuff going out every week. I'm only doing one video a week, and getting that stuff like filmed in advance and that kind of thing. So knowing that and then blocking it out, that really worked. Hopefully that'll keep working. Maybe my mindset has just been shifted, and I just don't feel as like disappointed when I have to move the things around anymore, like maybe I used to. So I'm hoping that like this time around with goal setting, I'll feel much better. I think I'm in a better place as far as like not really feeling, because before it's like if I write it down, that means I have to do it, and then feeling bad if I don't or if I move it. And I think I've gotten really good over the last like year or so of like reframing that. I know what I'm gonna say didn't work is like my eating. I've been like chasing calories this week. I feel like I've been like hungry all the time. Not eating well enough calories. Yeah, when I don't eat right, and I think this has to do with also the fact that like I was sleeping in, and so I was like having a longer break from like the last time I ate before I went to sleep, and then the first time I'm eating when I wake up. I don't do well when I like go too long in between food, and then like the meals I'm eating are definitely probably not enough calories. I need to make sure I stay working on that. That's one of those things that like tends to happen. And I noticed that it tends to follow like the week after my cycle, my period. And that sounds like TMI, but I don't know about you guys. When it's that time, I'm more hungry. And I've read stuff that confirms this, that it's not just like in my head, that we actually are hungrier. So I try and be mindful of that, and I try and like make sure I eat enough. But I think what happens if I don't end up eating enough during that time, it kind of like there's like almost a delay effect where I don't start feeling that effect until like in like days after. And it's just weird. And like I said, I end up like chasing calories. It feels like I feel like I'm playing catch up, where it's like I'm constantly hungry or constantly feeling sick. And that's just something I need to keep on top of. I think that's it. I think that's all I'm going to do for right now. I just wanted to start my reflection process, and at least that way you're kind of seeing like how I do my reflections, and I'm thinking kind of out loud for you. I obviously don't sit here and talk to myself when I'm doing it, although there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you do. I'm more of a write it out person versus like talking out loud. This was helpful. So if you like this video, make sure you go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, I think I might plan on doing some weekly actions videos in the future. I might do them solo like this one, or I might like combine them with my weekly planning if I do like a weekly plan with me. But for today, I just wanted to do this because I don't really need to do, I don't really have much on my schedule for the week of the 19th to the 25th. It's just more like a lot of to-do list items to get ready for the break that we are going to be taking, and I'll probably just end up using a notepad and being like really sloppy with it. So I wanted to spare you that. But hopefully like seeing this helped you out, and if you want to see more stuff like this, that you're interested in subscribing, and then I'll see you in the next one. Bye.